there's, and I will share the tools a bit later, there's Jasper, there's ChatGPT, there's Canva, I think it has a specific name, that is able to write for you. But the moment what you write on any of these platforms does not necessarily reflect your brand and adopt the tone of your institution, right? So for instance, us at NUST, we have a very official tone, but also one that is able to speak to all of our stakeholders. Our biggest stakeholders with the students, but also we have the staff, we have the lecturers, we have the parents out there, we have a board, we have the management, and all of these other stakeholders, right? And that tone needs to be consistent whenever. And most of the time, that is what technology fails to adopt. But also supervising AI-generated content before publishing. And I think this is what Mr. Denk will also be concentrating on tomorrow, right? It's good, generate that content, let it save your time, right? Make use of the technology, but let it not make you redundant, right? You must still do the work. You must still make sure that there's context as presented. So a bit again on the Namibia AI landscape, on a UNESCO study that was done 2020, was that 2022, 2023? Contributed a bit on that research, all right? That AI tools are being used in Namibia in 4 main fields: the education sector, the agriculture sector, the labor sector, and I think health. If it's not health, then it's mining. Sorry, it is 4 of them, right? That the AI tools are there. For many of you who are coming from organizations with more than 1,000 people, anybody? I see a hand there. I see a number of hands. A lot of your hiring processes are done through a system, isn't it? Somebody load their CVs, they load their letters, they load their qualifications, and that tool, you ask that tool to give you the best, I don't know. What is the best number that you go for, 100? Maybe 50 to save your time, isn't it? Ordinarily, you would have to sit there with that big pile and go through everything. But a tool would be able to help you to just sift through. But even in that, there's still a lot of biases, right? So for instance, a tool that is trained anywhere else would go for your typical name, Maria, Hilka, but not Nashilongo. Huh? Lydia maybe will also come out, all right? So AI tools may not be accessible to all. I've just given an example of Shoshakati Premier Electric, and they had a bot. Now imagine somebody from, I'm just trying to find Orukanda, in one of the locations there in Oshakati, that you would have an aunt or an uncle and they would want to really find information on this website and making effective use. But even that is not roller, right? But you still have those varying degrees of sort of skills or literacy towards that skills. Low AI literacy skills, you'd still have, even for instance for us as a university, you might have known we have automated all of our application processes. But at the end of the day, they're at registration, like now, what is happening in July and in January, there would still be a parent there. I want to see really, did the child even apply? Are they even, yeah? Do you still have all of those things? And that speaks to the literacy levels. AI can't yet understand local idioms, regional access, as well as, so there's a need for us to train the data train the data at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. This is where I speak about the work that we do at the university. We have a computer sciences, I think, biggest of the faculty, a very renowned faculty of informatics and computing that trained on data sciences, for instance. Much of the work that is done at research level, but also academic level, is to train the data. Right? Number of work is going in there on machine learning, so maybe your organization could team up with our departments. If you have data that you want to be trained into a model, but that only speaks to you, right? It does not have to be out there accessible to the rest of the public, for instance, to maintain privacy, but also data protection. There's also an issue of policy vacuum. As you know, a number of our frameworks on digitization are still being finalized, and so maybe then we could deal with those issues that we've raising before. So what happens when I load all of this confidential information that I need to be consumed immediately, and if I sit with that report, it will take me a week, but the public needs to be informed today, right? So, a number of trends here on AI and communication. Maybe one that really speaks to our key mode of communication, which is radio and audio as a consumption. That as we go, AI-powered radio and podcast production has become key. That real-time public service announcement in multiple languages could become a reality, right? But even with that, we still need to do a lot of training of models and large language models in particular, and so that the technology is able to speak to us. Voice cloning for customer support, for instance, right? If I'm calling my sister university at UNAM, I should, at least that voice that must be responding to me must sound a bit local, isn't it? No? Not California accent. All right, some of the best practices: define your brand voice and train your AI tools on it, right? Include human review loops. Choose tools that support African and multilingual languages. Most of these tools are called the open sources. Technologists always don't want to use these ones, but they work. Avoid over-trusting AI, especially on critical communication materials. Some of those tools, as you've mentioned them, and I might not have captured all of them, are here. Jasper, WhatsApp for Business, African Natural Language Project, and you have, of course, your Grok, your ChatGPT, but also the basic ones that we use over there. So, I think I have come to an end of my presentation, and I really want us to reflect on this question as we go. What are your concerns or your hopes for AI in the Namibia communication space? And finally, just really to say that AI is not a replacement for communications. It's a tool to make connection a bit more human, a bit more faster and smarter. But it needs to be guided ethically and with local lens. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Questions. All right. It's now an opportunity to engage. Ooh la la. I don't know if I would want to leave this question up, but any questions in the room? Any concerns? Any engagement? I see a hand over there. Ma'am, keep your hand up. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rita Kiba. I am a town planner by profession, engaging a lot with communities and public and stakeholder engagements. So my question is, how do we stay authentic You know, what is now happening is that if we prepare documents, reports, any of those using AI, obviously the content is your own content feeding AI to say that create this specific proposal or whatever document it is that I want, and I feed the information in exactly what I need. So in the end, if all of us do the same thing, we all will end up with similar documents somehow. How do we remain authentic, and how do we stand out of what we are using?
Thank you for that question. It's a question for all of us, isn't it? Authenticity in the use of technology, right? It's really, again, an issue of making a choice on what do you want the technology to do for you, isn't it? I have shared some of the tools that you can use. You have a report, or you've got a press release or report that you have written. You are 100% confident that it is ready, and it is ready for public consumption. You are just not sure about one or two things, right? Maybe grammar, maybe punctuations, right? You don't have to use your ChatGPT, for instance. You just go to Grammarly. In most of the cases, for instance, you have your Microsoft also comes with an editor, right? It just helps you, very basic, right? With that, because it's work that you have written, or you and your team has written, you must have already maintained a voice, right? An authentic voice, or your tone as an organization that cannot be replicated anywhere else. So this is the best that you can do, right? So by just using Grammarly, for instance, or editor, you lose nothing, but you have used the tool. Most of the time that is also localized within your computer, right? It is not loaded up anywhere else, even though we're not too sure about that, right? All right. I don't know if that answers the question, but maybe somebody else would want to. There's a hand over there. Yes, another hand.
Thank you. Mine is on the part of cybersecurity. Those of us that have attended similar lectures on cybersecurity by Mr. Philemon, the Deputy Director, have gotten to understand that we don't have a legislature in place to guard us against programs such as AI. What is it that institutions such as NAST or any institutions that are capable of researching are doing to assist the normal men on the ground to be safe in the use of this AI? And because I'm asking this because AI has a ability to even go into your personal, because you are prompting every time it knows you. Who is Simpson? Simpson Banks with Standard Bank. His email is what? Yeah, basically, just how do you contribute to the research aspect of that?
Thank you. Thank you. Very good question. I see another hand there. Should we take the questions and we respond as we go? Okay, so let's take those two for now. Thank you. I took that one of cybersecurity.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Asteria Njenje from Ministry of ICT. Basically, my one question my colleague here has already answered, but I just wanted to add to another colleague who asked about you actually losing your human touch when you're using AI. I work with very young people. Okay, when we were at university, you can hardly even access Google. You could actually hardly access Google. We depended on the library. You had to read books for you to actually complete your assignment. But now, from Mr. Gochu's presentation, he actually, I asked the question as to how can we go about using AI in the newsroom and in our offices without actually losing the human touch. And what I actually advise my colleagues, because I also work as an editor for the ministerial publications, is that don't tell AI to write for you. Write and then use it to clean up your work. So, and that is what Mr. Gochu also advised this morning, to say, as my colleague there said, we will all end up sounding the same and writing the same stuff because AI generated that for us. And AI collected this information from the same sources, and they will actually give you the same answers most of the time. So the focus here is that use it to clean up your work. Use your brain to write, and then maybe go to AI just to clean up your work and the grammar, as you have mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Lydia Shifa. I work for the city of Windhoek. Nashilongo, thank you very much for that insightful and informative presentation. Now, I know that you touched on the subject of machine learning, but I'm still curious and I want to know, how does AI collect its information, harvesting of its information, and how can we, as communication officials, contribute to this information? The other question is, how can we make sure that we change the narrative on the general information that is on AI? Because I know with our traditional search engines, you are able to change the narrative. For example, if somebody is searching for City of Windhoek, you are able to make sure that your website is up there for the information that comes up. You mentioned about the perception of Africa on AI. How can we as African communicators make sure that we change that narrative of how Africa is portrayed on AI and change it to a positive perception? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. I see two more hands. Can I ask you to please hold on to those two questions and we engage on this one and we come back? I appreciate the question on cybersecurity or the concerns on cybersecurity. And I think I've also reflected on them earlier to say that there is no law currently that is protecting any data that is out there, all right? A lot of what we do, for instance, at the university, at human capacity level, we serve in many, or we have staff members that are always called to us by government, for instance, to serve in a different, whether it's a task force or a policy formation committee, and we are able to share the research that is done in the classrooms to shape, for instance, policy positions or policy pronouncements, for instance, all right? So that's what we do. But personally, I am also an advocate of technology, and that technology must serve humanity and not the other way around. So it really just publicly engaging on the need for technology to be sensitized towards serving people and not necessarily the other way around. So that is on cybersecurity. Maybe we can also take a notch down and say, and this is a resource issue that is usually beyond communication. Are your licenses, for instance, updated, paid for? Just your normal Microsoft licenses at institutional level. Perhaps at many of the times, it's really also at that level, right? Right? If you are using Microsoft, what are they using now? Edge? If you are still on 360, I think 365 is still in use. A number of versions behind. You are still at risks of your information being saved on licensing that are not saved up or that is not being used at corporate level, say at Microsoft level, but also does not protect you. So your information is hanging in there and can easily be hacked or can easily be lost, and that really makes you, or that makes an organization or put the organization at risk, right? The other is also perhaps really localizing the information at your own server. I think many of our organizations already have this, right? You have a server that is internal, right? You have a data, maybe not a data center, but you have a server that you know that is protected, not just physically, but also through licensing frameworks that are updated regularly, your firewalls, just amongst others. That's also maybe another aspect where cybersecurity could come through. I think there was another engagement there by Asteria on AI and cleaning up. Yes, I agree with you that technology must be used for that purpose. Do the work, right? And use it to clean up. And I think that's also what we've just mentioned here. If you can use Editor or Grammarly and even ChatGPT, maybe not ChatGPT at that level. But also let's not forget, even as seniors, trust your senior to edit the work, isn't it? Isn't that what editors are doing in the room, right? And that way you really are able to tell who wrote this story. Previously as journalists, we knew this story is written by somebody. I can tell, for instance, Werner Menges. Anybody know Werner Menges? He's the Namibian journalist who does their court reporting. When you read Werner's work, it is set apart. Because he will have 2 pages of court reporting, but you would not know by when you have stopped, when the story has stopped, because he writes so well. Now you start a story and then you're like, he's done. It is so long, but it is giving Werner. It's very authentic. Only he writes that way. And so even now, even from us as communicators, there must be a way that tells that this is only Nashilongo's writing, or Tonatenis, or Nita's, right? So, over-reliance on technology or over-reliance in AI is something that we could avoid so that we maintain humanity, our tone of the brand, for instance. And then there was a question by Lydia on machine learning. All right, very, very interesting. So, machines are learning. I'm sure you have heard about that. It's a meme. Humans are engaging, or humans are connected. We are all on our cell phones, isn't it? And machines are learning. Machines are learning. This morning, I had a prompt that my version of WhatsApp is coming to an end. In 17 days, I must upgrade. Guess what? I upgraded, and now I have the Meta AI assistant that just comes. And I'm like, I need to opt out of this, right? Machines are learning from the inputs that we are providing. So, this is our responsibilities as communicators. Your website, when last was it updated? Because if anything happens at the city of Windhoek today, CNN, the first thing they are going to, of course they will ask ChatGPT, but human verification will also go onto your social media, they will go onto your website to make sure that this information is verifiable. I'll tell you an example. Last week I was in Spain for work. My department of corporate engagement is also, I also have international relations. So we manage this relationship with other universities. So we were at another university. And so this is when the story of, what's the player who died from Spain? You see the soccer followers are here. So that's the first thing I did. I saw the news is going on, and then I went on, where do we normally go? X or Twitter. That's where you go to verify the news. And by then, nothing was still very clear. I think the news just broke and the information was out there. And you must have seen by now that Twitter has a new virtual assistant, like a verification platform or verification AI tool called Grok, right? So whatever it is, you just go onto the context and you write, Grok, tell me more. It can be a post by somebody else and you just say, Grok, is this true? So at that point, Grok did say that it's not even true that this soccer player and the brother has died, right? So information and being out there. But what also then these AI tools will do is they will go to your biggest news media houses, for instance. They will look at, where does this guy play? Are they in the UK? Who is the biggest news producer within that region where they are? Maybe a CNN, maybe an NBC, maybe a New Era. And then the moment they don't find that information, they bring it out as not true. But there's a need for us as communicators that with the changes of environment within our organizations, that we perform our communications role. Let's update our websites. Let's make sure that the annual reports and all this other information that is out there is updated. Yes, some times ago I had a chat with a colleague from one of the entities, the public entities. And they say they don't have a social media account. They are not allowed to have a social media account. Right? I don't know how many times we have gone onto our website to, for instance, update that NAST is having a cultural festival. Right? You have the website for your historic presence, for instance, right? For really writing information that needs to be there. But your social media has really become a point where you go to engage with the public, isn't it? But also to get feedback amongst others. So engage on all of those platforms. So with machine learning, again, Lydia, may I just ask you, I think the City of Windhoek is a good partner of the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Engage us. Let's work on some projects that really contextualize the need of the university. So for instance, if your information that datas, how old is the City of Windhoek? 100 and what? Maybe 100. All of that information is also sitting there. Imagine all of that information. You give them to our data science students and they teach a machine all of that history, and you will have all of that information digitized, but it also can be told for a longer time. But that also speaks to what, was that Lydia? No. Asteria from the City of Windhoek has mentioned about seniors and junior. MICT, sorry. Sorry, Asteria, MICT. About seniors and juniors. There's still a lot of context about the Namibian media that I, as a person that has been in the industry for, I don't know, 20, maybe 15 years, do not know that my former boss, Mr. Peter Denk, there would have about information, about any political context, for instance. So we still have all of those humans or senior colleagues who are a bit more experienced, and we should be able to verify some of information and really just say, colleagues, this is not an issue that just started yesterday. This is the historical background, and this information is key for the public understanding and for public consumption. Was there another question? Change narrative. I think the issue of having our information updated, written, and is out there for public, that helps us with the changing of the narrative. Otherwise, anybody will just tell the story as it is. All right? But we have also seen other efforts, isn't it? We have now started to tell our own stories, have influencers who have bigger followers, for instance, present the pictures that we know and believe what it is. And that can lead to the countering of those misinformation by the other entities. All right? All right? But machine must still be taught on local context. There were two more hands. Whoa, three hands. Okay, we'll take those 3 hands and then we will close. There's one here, there's one over there, and then we will close. May I also ask that You keep it brief. I will also try and keep it brief. Please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nashilongo. This is Nita Evaristus from the Namibia Institute of Pathology Limited. My comments really more on your question on the screen, hopes for AI in Namibia. I think coming from the presentation from Mr. Links, Frederico, I think really my hopes really is for transformation within the, for service delivery, because I think the outcry there really from the public is really that we are not responsive as organizations, and I really think using AI responsibly for us to really up our responsiveness and really get that, build that credibility within the public is something that we can embrace.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As the mic is moving to the next colleague, is with public service delivery, we've seen the use of chatbots I've mentioned before. We've got skills in this country. Walk into a university, speak to a lecturer that specializes in that kind of training or research, and get you a group of students and build a chatbot, for instance, that is just able to tell you for all media inquiries, we will respond to you within 24 hours or within 48 hours or within 7 days, because that's what the access to information law will be asking, right? But also, just while we are there, our access to information law, while very new, might also be ready already for reviewing, because it does not speak about artificial intelligence at all, right? And it's not a fault of the process, right? It is really an issue of this technology is so fast. Yeah? Today we are talking about generative AI. This is a tool that has just taken over in the last two years, so to say. In 5 years, it could be something else, all right? But maybe that's also coming out while the law is currently absent or quiet rather on emerging technology, including AI use for accessing of the information. We might find something perhaps in the regulations, right? Thank you. Yes, Tona?
Thank you, Nashilongo, and it's good to see you on the stage. I think there was a colleague who was telling us that he was a classmate to the Deputy Minister. I must also inform the House that Nashilongo and I, we both worked for the largest newsroom in the country. Mr. Deng is our boss. Yeah. So my question is, I just want to get advice from you. I think it was mentioned there that there is a notion that AI is for lazy people. It's not a good tool. So what would you advise to us as communicators to instill confidence in our leaders or management that AI is actually a tool for efficiency and creativity, or to enhance efficiency and creativity? So what would you advise? What should we do as communicators? Thank you.
All right, thank you. We've got another hand. There was a last hand over there. Very good question, Tona, and yes. Yeah. Before my current role at the university, I taught in class or in the lecture halls or in the lecture rooms, and I taught young people born 2000 and something until here. The Gen Zs and all of this. I'm sure there's also some in the room. It's a pure generational issue, right? I think us as generations before the current generations, we were taught hard work. Huh? If you don't show the work and na. Those colleagues, those young ones, they don't like suffering. Huh? They are not for here to suffer. If it's fast for them, if it works for them, they will go for it. Nah? And we can deal with it later. Isn't it? I mean, even if it's assignment, you will tell them, I will penalize you 50% because we've got tools that tells you that this essay is 50, it shows 75% AI generation. They will still submit. Right? It's a pure generational issue. And now imagine us telling this generation, but it's also not just a generational issue, it's also an access to resource issue. We were trained, as Asteria has mentioned, there was no this technology. Huh? They are growing up with this technology, born with it. Huh? They are not going to the library. It's really, again, to get back to teach them about authenticity, issues of ethics, issues of maintaining your voice. Nah? As much as this generation doesn't like suffering, they also want to go up yesterday. Nah? We must be reminding them that you are not going to go up there with ChatGPT work. Because the generation that is in the boardroom, for instance, will ask you beyond this. Nah? And you need to have information that is not just on the internet. It's information that you need to do a lot of reading, local reading, but also to contextualize whatever that you are having, the information that you are having. All right, Tona, I don't know if I can answer this question honestly and truthfully. It's just that we have those generations in our classroom. We are making sure that we are telling them the theoretical aspects of communication, for instance. Why is there communication? Who saw the need for this field to exist? What are the basic tenets of making sure that you are in this field? You have to be objective, for instance. Information that comes out of you, for instance, needs to be fair, needs to be balanced, needs to be available for the public, all of those other things. But they will also be using the tools that is out there, right? Let's strike the balance. It might be even worse for us now. We don't know what about the generation that they will be managing. All right. Thanks, Tona. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. My name is Mestelde Matthias from the Chula Chula region. That's Ohangwena region.
Oh.
Yeah. It's known as Chula Chula.
I see. That's good. Where does Chuna Chuna come from?
Ohangwena, it's a soccer kind of.
Oh, I see. It's a soccer context. Okay, yes. I get it now. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to say something. When it comes to the use of artificial intelligence, I have also come across of something that has happened. I think in November last year, I managed to read all the political party manifestos, and I came across 2 political party manifestos. I'm not going to mention names, that have similar political party manifesto. The content is the same. Now, you do not know who owns the content. You don't know who started first and who was. By the time when they were now reading their manifestos, somebody was saying, but you copied from me. So you can get time and check in all the manifestos, because when you have information, you can always make informed decision. I am from the Ministry of Information, but my question is, there's a generation, like my generation, born before technology, and my grandmother, we are born before technology. And now we are so inspired by technology. In most cases, you find this generation is now having gadgets, and they are every now and then on the social space looking for investments, looking for opportunities, and what have you. You mentioned the list. So these people now, with this type of intelligence, you may find an intelligence mimicking the voice of a prominent person, calling you to make investments, and you cannot easily tell whether it's artificial intelligence or it's really the person, because you can even see the face. So I'm just now asking, what do you think as communicators? How are we going to help those not to become victims of the social media space, because in many times they are coaching for opportunities there. How best can we be able to educate that particular group? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very legitimate question, and it's a question that we are supposedly, at least at our level at the university, doing our best. So I'll give you this scenario as we get to answer the question. So at NAST, I think at UNAM as well, you have, I think what they call basic computer, or CSU, computer user something. It's a course that we do as part of the gap of coming into our system, or even coming into Windhoek or into an urban area where there's a university. And you would think all of these other things are just as they are presented to you. So amongst others in that course, we are teaching the students about these things, scamming, this voice interpretation, all of these other things that you find on technology. But you are right to say that there's also a generation that is not walking into the university. Well, at least the hope is, and the Honorable Deputy Minister was here for information this morning, or for education, is really there's a need for technology, basic computer skills to be implemented in even from primary school already. Right, just for the awareness sake. And that will really help us with media and information literacy, but also AI literacy. I think the conversation within the policy space have been moving towards that. That it's not just computer literacy anymore, it's also media and information. Why does this video look so legitimate? But would this person really be saying this? All right? And so, for instance, those courses will be necessary. But that is not just a responsibility of us at the university. It is a responsibility of all of us. It's also not just a responsibility that we pack at the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology and their partners. It's a responsibility of all of us. All right? Let's teach at home. I'm coming back now to the advocate of technology in me. It's really a responsibility for all of us, and just say no. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of research, for instance, that showed the spread of misinformation. For COVID-19 in particular, we did some of that research at the university, but also globally. Most of that misinformation has been driven by our mothers and fathers and grandparents in the rural areas, because the information they have access to is very limited. It's just the WhatsApp groups where they share their things about, I don't know, selling Amway and all of these other things, and these things comes through, right? So there's a need for AI literacy within the formal schooling systems, but there's also a need for AI literacy, media and information literacy, and I think my former boss, Peter, will be dealing with this tomorrow. There's a need for that, just like we had before. Independence, my grandmother used to go to that school of literacy. They have a booklet and they are taught, I think, English and all of these other things. There's a need for us to do that, because this emerging technology had found us here and we existed already before it. Most of the time, upskilling and reskilling these computers can take a bit of time, because we are already on the move and in the process of doing everything else that we are doing. So, I don't know if that answers the question. On AI, media, literacy, a number of organizations in the country I know are doing this work, but it needs concerted effort by all of us. Us at university, this is what we are doing. Let's partner, who have money here? NIP, who could give us some of the money, we put up some of these courses, and we do outreaches also, maybe during our break and when it's convenient to both of the institutions. and educate our people. Right? I think those were the last comments, questions. Colleagues, thank you very much. It was lovely, engaging, and it was good to be together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Ms. Nashi, I think all we can say is danko, danko, danko. That was exceptional. I think a massive round of applause for Ms. Nashilongo. I think just by way of raising hand, how many can attest that a single day or a few hours is not enough a time to digest this theme? I think I'm also included there. So as the program coordinators of this event, we'll look into it and communicate when we can have such a session as well, because one day definitely is not enough. So thank you so much, Ms. Nashi. We truly appreciate. That was extremely insightful. Thank you. Just as we wrap up, thank you so much to all of you esteemed delegates for coming through. We truly appreciate. Tomorrow we're on our second day as well. So just make sure we arrive on time, I think 8:15, so we can allow for ourselves to settle down before the program kicks off at 8:30. So many thanks. Just as we exit, please be informed that we've got some tea, some coffee. As we exit, please treat yourselves outside. Many thanks.